while that was probably one of the low points in my life, I'm very thankful for it.
Like maybe you were kind of bored a little bit in your family office and you're just kind of ready to get back in the game. And
a lot of real estate guys are deal guys, right?
Yeah.
We're kind of deal junkies. You know, we want to do deals, and that's kind of the way I look at myself. I'm like, I'm a hunter. You know, I want to be hunting, and if I'm just sitting around the campfire waiting for, you know, food to be delivered.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 1 of Real Estate AF podcast, and today we have a new relationship for me, kind of a serendipitous way that we kind of got to meet. But as soon as I met him, we had some things in common. I knew this guy was high level, and I'm like, we got to get this guy on the podcast. So welcome, everybody, Jeff Sakamoto.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely, man. So yeah, again, this is a new relationship. I don't know you too well yet, but why don't you kind of tell us your story?
Yeah, it's been a long and winding story, but I'll give you kind of the cliff notes. Yeah. You know, people always ask what it is that you do. I think that's you know a common question. Yeah. And I'm a multifamily developer. That's what I do. That's my day job. But you know, I think kind of the genesis of how I got here is actually kind of interesting. I grew up in Seattle. I was an athlete, you know, and played 2 sports in college. I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. I was in college. I was being scouted. I was at an elite program, and then I got hurt.
Okay.
And so that dream kind of died almost overnight. And at that point, I was already married. I got married when I was 19. Had a son later that year. Not how you plan it, but that's how it happened. And so you go from basically thinking you're going to be a professional athlete to, oh crap, what am I going to do to support my family? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so had to pivot pretty quickly. Fortunately, I'd been a good student in college and was able to land a good job as a consultant. You know, at that time, like I think the good jobs to get were like investment banking or consulting was the way that, you know, was the big bucks. Yeah. You know, and so I was fortunate enough to land a job in the consulting world, but I quickly realized that wasn't the route I wanted to go. You know, the whole 9 to 5 and traveling all the time and everything else. And it wasn't 9 to 5; it was more like 6 to 10. Right. You know, yeah. And that wasn't conducive to, you know, the lifestyle I want to live. And I think one of the pivotal points in my life at that point was I was actually handed the book by a family friend, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yep. Robert Kiyosaki. Yep. I'm sure we've all read it, and you know, but it was kind of an aha moment. It really changed my paradigm, and I said, "Look, I'm going to pivot from here," and ended up going into the investment world, launching a real estate fund, which was awesome until 2008, and then decided a couple years thereafter that if I'm going to be in the real estate game, I want to do it in a cash flow business, and that's why.
So when you started that, how old were you?
When I started
the fun side,
I was in my 20s, mid 20s.
Okay.
Yeah, mid 20s, and it was amazing at the time. Like, you know, that early 2000s all the way to 2008, you're printing money. Yep. You couldn't make a bad investment.
Yeah, and you I mean, you kind of skated along that, made it seem like easy, but it's like you're in your 20s, you started a fund. Yep. That couldn't have been that simple, or maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. And then you start a fund, you have to get people to
invest in you.
Yeah.
Turn over some money.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the piece in the middle there was I mentioned I kind of transitioned to the investment world. I knew I wanted to get somehow into investments and making investments, creating wealth, not only for myself, but for other people. And so I actually, when I left consulting, I went and joined an investment firm and was a very successful financial advisor, wealth manager, built a clientele of, you know, $700 million under management. Wow. And then went out on my own. I started my own firm because I was giving so much to the house, right. You know, right? And so I'm like, I can do that. This was when things were really hot in the real estate market, and a lot of my clients wanted to get into some alternative investments into real estate. And so we launched a fund in real estate. And fortunately, just obviously my clients, but also, you know, networking and everything else, it was fairly easy for me to raise, you know, tens of millions of dollars at the time. And I know not everybody can do that, but my network crazy. And kind of the influence that I had in that platform allowed me to do that. Yeah. So, yeah.
Especially mid-20s.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you know what a fund was in the mid-20s?
It was pretty, honestly, that's a great question. It was new.
Yeah.
Like I feel like today there's so many different with social media and everything. Everybody's got a fund, right?
Everyone has a fund, yeah.
You got Cardone's fund and all these different funds out there, right?
Yeah.
But at the time, it was almost pretty groundbreaking, and it was a unique opportunity for investors to get into real estate at that, that wasn't a REIT, and so that's why I think it got so much traction.
What were the laws like?
They've changed a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a Reg D offering, at the time, but they've changed a lot as a result of '08 and a lot of the fraudulent activities that occurred during that time. But yeah, it was interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still have it?
No, yeah. So, long story short, we made a lot of money for ourselves and investors in the early 2000s, 2007, 2008. We were doing very well, and our investors were doing very well. And then 2008 hit, and you thought you had done a good job diversifying, investing in things like self-storage developments, subdivisions, office buildings, trying to really diversify.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, we've got a pretty good across the different food groups of real estate, right? Well, '08 hit, and all of those got wiped.
Yep.
And so yeah, I mean it was certainly a challenge, but we worked our way out of it, And I spent 4 years after '08 recouping our investors' money, having to redevelop some properties that a condo in '08 wasn't worth anything.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
kind of looked at it as potential apartments and things like that, and kind of led me to some different opportunities.
So let's talk about that, because that's like most real estate podcasts, people just talk about wins.
Yeah.
But what a lot of people don't know is, like, in real estate, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yep.
It's not a matter of if, it's a win, right?
100%.
So like last year, lost a little over $800,000 just on fix and flips.
Yep.
A lot of people don't talk about that because it's like it's flashy and cool to show off these $50,000 checks on these. Flipping is stupid, right? Yep. But it's like we were making money, we were doing good, same thing. Next thing you know, interest rates flip just like that, lost 800 grand,
Yep.
right? So in '08, you're probably talking about millions,
Oh yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
So then you're probably talking about lawsuits.
Yep.
Right. And then that's the type of stuff that I really want to talk about and learn about.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't talk about that because it's scary, or nobody wants to be known as the guy that lost somebody else's money, right?
Yeah.
Because half that was my money, half of it was from last year, half of it was investors' money.
Yeah.
So now it's like I have to come to an investor and say, hey, man, we're going to take X dollar loss.
Yep.
Trust me, I'm going to pay you back.
Yep.
And that's literally what it is. So you're spending 4 years doing it. And I'm still in the midst of that right now.
Yep.
From last year, right? And so that's the kind of stuff that's like, that's the real stuff that makes you, and you probably today, you're probably happy that you went through getting your ass kicked in '08, because it totally shifted, I would assume, shifted your mindset towards the business.
100%. There's a lot to unpack there, and I totally agree. I think, I haven't talked about a lot of this stuff publicly, like with my close family and obviously investors and what have you, but I think it is important. And to kind of unpack that, if you will, yeah. When '08 hit, you have investors who, were making a lot of money, and then all of a sudden the spigot turns off, right?
Yep.
They're getting distributions on a regular basis, and they stop, and you have to have some hard conversations. But there's, I think at the time Madoff was around, like some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so they start to go, what did I get into? Right?
Yeah.
Is this a Madoff situation? And so, long story short, well, first off, we had to sue a number of people that we had invested in.
Yep.
Some very prominent real estate people that had become friends, big names, and we had to sue them on behalf of my investors. That was my responsibility, and that was really hard. It cost a lot of money. Lawsuits are expensive. Nobody wins, but I had to do that.
Yeah.
So, I spent a lot of my time over that 4 years in depositions, working through this stuff, and that is not fun at all.
It's the worst, man.
It's the worst, right?
Yeah.
And so we're suing, we've got dozens of lawsuits that we're funding, trying to recoup our investors' investment on their behalf and doing the best thing for them. And then we had a couple investors who said, you know what? We're suing you.
Yeah.
We're suing you.
Yeah.
And so I had a couple investors sue me personally, sue our company. It turned out that it was, I don't know the right term, not frivolous, but it was dismissed.
Yeah.
It was dismissed. But the way we got there to have it dismissed was a nightmare.
Of course, yeah.
Deposition after deposition, basically the most invasive experience where I'm having to provide every financial document that I have, everything I ever bought, all of that stuff. I think the kicker of it was when these two investors reported me to the state, and so the business affairs for the state started doing the same thing and being very invasive. But the kicker of it was when I had two FBI agents show up at my door. It was a long day. It was getting ready to go to the gym, blow off some steam, and I get a knock on my door, and I'm the only one home. I had a family at this time. My wife and kids were gone, and two agents were at my door and saying, "Hey, can we have a little conversation? Come on in." So long story short, I had the FBI looking into our operations and everything else. And while that was probably one of the low points in my life, I'm very thankful for it.
Yeah.
And for a couple reasons. The reason why we were able to obviously get out of the lawsuit, and that's not the right term, but have it dismissed. And the reason why there was no action taken against me from the state or the FBI was because we had done everything right. We had crossed every T, we had dotted every I, we documented everything. There was no funny business. Had we done one thing wrong,
domino
I would have
effect.
been in jail.
Yeah.
And a lot of people at that time were in jail
Yeah.
because they did one thing wrong. And so I'm just thankful that, we did do everything right. We didn't, commingle funds. We didn't do any of those things that were a temptation for people that are in that business, in the fund business. It's really easy to say, I can just do a little bit of this. But we didn't. We did things by the book. We crossed our T's. And as a result, we had everybody looking at us with a fine-tooth comb, and we proved ourselves that, we did it right.
Yeah.
And it was still hard. Like still, having to answer to investors and everything else.
Yeah.
But it could have been a lot worse.
How'd you deal with all the stress and depression and stuff that comes along with that?
Again, I've never really talked about this. This is good. I went from a guy that was extremely confident. I mean, I'm just enjoying my life with my family and doing the nicer things in life. We're flying private. We're, doing all these vacations and everything else, to literally overnight, like, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to feed my family? Right. And so, I spent many a days on the couch, in front of my computer, just staring, and I finally reached a point, and it was actually my wife at the time who said, "Look, how long are you going to do this? You got to snap out of it."
Yeah.
And she's, I'm very ambitious by nature. I'm always hunting. I'm always, trying to make stuff happen. And she just saw kind of a shell of me, right? And so she's like, "Enough is enough. Like, you're fine." So I got back in the gym, started working out, and just kind of getting back to normal life. And then things started happening, and my faith is a big piece of that, and knowing that everything does happen for a reason. I believe that. But just taking it a day at a time, and just moving towards the light and trying to work your way out of it. And eventually things over 4 years, got better, and
Slowly start getting better. Yeah.
Has your faith always been a part of your life for a long time, or
it has. Yeah. I mean, it's, I was fortunate enough to grow up in a Christian household, and on my mom's side, we have some pretty prominent pastors in our family. So that was a foundational piece for me. But it's those moments, whether it's, getting your girlfriend pregnant at 19 or going through an '08 type experience, that really test your faith.
Yeah.
And to know, is what I say really what I believe down to my core?
Yeah.
And am I really going to have faith?
Yeah.
And that was one of those moments I look back and I can point to as a turning point in my faith and a strengthening in my faith.
Right on.
For sure.
So, okay, so you come out of that, you start kind of getting back to yourself again. Where do you go from there? What's the next thing?
Yeah. So as I started to work through that, I said, look, I can't sit on the beach forever. I can't sit on the couch forever. Let's do something. And so, long and the short of it is I wanted to get into multifamily. I found a kind of a crack in the code in the city I was in Portland, Oregon, where you could essentially take a single home and redevelop into a number of units. And so in my first deal in Portland, about a $300,000 single family home, and had plans to develop 55 units on it, which was a good play. I always say that good deals find the money. And so we had a good deal. I knew it. We'd found a crack in the code, and I was able to bring in a very prominent investor out of Seattle to essentially back me because I didn't have any money at the time. And we ended up partnering on not only that deal, but another deal in Portland, and we had plans to do a lot more. Unfortunately, after our second deal, he passed very suddenly. But it kind of got me back in the swing of things, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of the things I love about real estate is you're only limited by your imagination.
Yeah.
You really are. And in that case, we were able to take what most people see as a single home play and turn it into something with of much more value.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and honestly, like I said, I own a fourplex.
Yep.
Like that's all I own. That's my experience in real estate, other than some personal homes over the years. But I'm a marketer by nature. That's what my background. And that's what I love, kind of what you said. I love to kind of look at another industry and what they're doing and how can I apply it to this industry.
Yep.
And that's kind of what we've done recently. And it's then on top of that, I'm getting to learn from Ryan and kind of his experience, and he's just kind of putting these ideas in. I'm like, dude, let's take this thing to the moon. This is fun. And it's crazy what you can do with real estate to build wealth relatively fast.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm excited about that. But so you own or partnered in 2,000 units, if you will, right now. How did that happen?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, it started small with a couple 55 unit plays, and then word got out.
That's a big play.
Well, no question, and it was a huge blessing and everything else. But it kind of got me back in the game, and at that point, I'm like, okay, I want to do some bigger stuff. And I was fortunate that I was able to be recruited by a national development firm who wanted to do some stuff in Portland. Went to work with them as a partner, and was able to get into some big projects. And when I say that, it's like, waterfront, 200 unit properties plus. Right. And obviously have a significant piece of the action, in doing that. And that was kind of the launch pad for me to really start accumulating some real money. And then, like I said, over the last, call it 10 years, partnered in over 2,000 units that we still have today. I've done much more than that. And it's funny, I didn't know how many units I owned. I was asked to speak at an event earlier this year, and he's like, "Yeah, tell me how many units you've done. What's the total dollar value of that?" I'm like, "Let me add it up. I'll get back to you." And I was like, it's well over 2,000 units, and I think total development and acquisitions that I've done is over $4 billion now. And it's like I didn't even know that until I was actually asked, and I put it on my Instagram, which I'm going to take off because I don't want to flex or do anything like that. But my girlfriend at the time was like, wow, like I had no idea that you had done that. But you just kind of keep your head down and you work and you kind of look up and like, oh, I've actually done that. Some pretty cool stuff. So
that is
it for me, being able to partner with national development firms, private equity firms, which is and family offices, which I've done over the last 10 years, has really given me the leverage of using other people's money and resources and everything else to really create a nice situation, a lot of experience. And so that's where I'm at today. Is I've been a partner with a family office over the last 10 years. I worked with families that very high net worths, and really learn from that. Really see how billionaires operate, and kind of work at an institutional level.
Yeah.
And I like it. And it's been a great learning experience, but I also love the gritty aspect of real estate, the entrepreneurial side of it. Yeah. And I think moving forward, that's what I'm going to get back into, is more of that. There's so many different plays out there in real estate, and you're only limited by your creativity, your network, and just an understanding of real estate and what the drivers are, right? And if you can grab those things, you don't have to work with billionaires. You don't have to have Carlisle or Black, one of these big names as a partner, there's more money to be made, just doing small deals and just being creative.
What's preventing you from getting back into your own fund?
It's a good question. I've been asked that several times.
Yeah.
I have seen really since about 2018, 2019, I've seen kind of the market that we're experiencing today kind of coming to a head. Everybody was rushing into multifamily.
Yeah.
There was a lot of supply, a lot of things. And so I want to be an expert in what I do, and multifamily is my game. And I didn't feel like it was the right time to be syndicating or starting a fund and getting people into new investments in real estate. If you're a billionaire and you've got staying power and all that other stuff, different story,
Yeah.
right? And that's a different situation. But I think you're seeing today that a lot of these smaller funds, these syndications that have raised in the last 5 years,
Getting smoked.
they're getting smoked, and they're getting capital calls, and those investors that put their life savings of a couple $100,000 in cannot answer the capital calls.
Yeah.
And then what?
Yeah.
Right. And I never wanted to be in that situation. Now is more of an interesting time.
Yeah.
And now is a time where seriously looking at putting together a fund.
Yeah.
Because that's where you got some legs
Yeah.
in a market like today.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what you're seeing. We have an idea of what we're thinking. Like, what are you seeing is going to happen? We know next year's an election year.
Yep.
Most likely, who knows, but most likely rates are going to come down.
Yep.
Do you see the market going crazy again?
It's interesting. So again, just speaking to my sector, which is multifamily, I think there's a lot of supply. There's a lot of supply that's still being built, and depending on the markets, but the Sun Belt especially, which is where I've played the last several years, there's a ton of new supply coming. And so as a result, you're seeing rents dropping, right? You're seeing cap rates increase. There's it's kind of a perfect storm in a bad way for multifamily. So a lot of folks are sitting on the sidelines as far as new investments. And I think, that will continue. I think people are looking for opportunistic investments in distress. But what you don't see behind the scenes is that there's some big groups that are doing rescue capital deals with a lot of these syndications and smaller groups that sink in money and preferred equity into their operations. So I don't think you're going to see as much distress as everybody kind of hopes that there will be, because these big boys are coming in and rescuing them behind the scenes, taking assets. And so I don't think you're going to see the 2008 headlines of distress and, all those things that I know everybody's hoping for, and everybody's got dry powder to run in and, swoop up some amazing deals. I just don't know that you're going to see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I to add to that, I think there is a lot of dry powder, and there is a lot of. I've got a few friends that are involved in, like you said, the rescue and all that kind of stuff. And then there was a lot, like you said, with the supply. There's so much people waiting, almost like what's the perfect moment, right? But they're waiting for hypothetically the perfect moment. And they can deploy like that.
Yep.
And so I see a lot of guys jumping into syndication deals or trying to start syndication. And I'm like, what are you starting your syndication for? The fund, this is what Rio and I have talked about. The fund, in my opinion, is where you want to start building that now, or you were really close to wanting to start building it for that opportunity, because it's almost like when the faucet gets turned back on, you can just go.
Yeah, if you got some guys ready to go, that's when it's time. No, I totally agree.
Yeah,
totally agree.
So, because and same thing, man. I know a lot of syndicators, a lot of fun guys. They're just getting smoked right now, and with the capital calls, and some people just don't have the grace. Like they don't have any savior, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to that stuff.
Yep.
Cool. So with the family offices, what is your role with them?
Yeah. So as a partner and essentially, the developer, if you will, it's really soup to nuts. So it's everything from site acquisition all the way through entitlement, construction, design, and then essentially in multifamily lease up and disposition. And so I've been able to work all aspects of the real estate cycle of a property, right? And so I'm essentially responsible. They're just kind of my backers, if you will. Mm-hmm. But again, I think that's nice. It's nice to have those dollars and that experience and that resume behind you. but it also kind of limits you in a way of what you can do. You got to fit inside a pretty narrow box of what they want to invest in. And, I come across deals all the time that are, say under $50 million total capitalization, and there's no interest, right? It's like, it's not really worth our time, but for the right people, I mean, I'll do that, in small deals, $2, $5, $10 million. And so unfortunately, just in the role that I've been in and are in, I have to pass on a lot of that stuff. And I've been fortunate that I've been able to participate on some side deals and, obviously with full disclosure and everything else, but I want to do more of that. Yeah. And that's kind of the direction I'm going to go moving forward and kind of step away from the family office setting. And there's just so much opportunity out there, and not even in multifamily. There, like I said, there's different opportunities out there in all aspects of real estate. And that's what's so great is for the entrepreneurial person that has some vision and is willing to look for opportunities, really the sky's the limit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing that. It's kind of crazy. So you're talking about that, really the sky's the limit. You're kind of only limited to your creativity. What do you have some things that you're working on or thinking about at least, or what, if you're willing to talk about them?
Yeah, no, I do. And as far as the specifics, I probably won't talk about today. There's just always, in every market, there's opportunity, and you just have to look for it. And people, including myself at times, and this is where the mind is so important to really stay focused. Is it's so easy to be like, this market sucks, I'm out. I'm gonna sit this one out, or I got beat down by a deal. I'm gonna lick my wounds for a while. And honestly, after 2008, I did that. I felt sorry for myself and everything else. But there's opportunities in every market, and there are today. And it's not necessarily in multifamily or industrial or flipping homes or whatever, but they're out there, and you just have to be willing to, one, understand drivers and demand and everything else, and be willing to be a student of the game, And so that's where I'm at. And I've got, I've had 3 calls already this morning with different opportunities. I've got a contract on my desk to do some things. And it's like, I want to pick and choose the ones that I really want to invest my time and make a run at. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now, without being specific. And I apologize. We'll talk about it offline another time. But
no, I get it. But you know what, I kind of feel like what I'm kind of getting the vibe is just like maybe you were kind of bored a little bit, and you're with the family office, and you're just kind of ready to get back in the game and leverage all the experience that you've built over the years to do some pretty cool stuff. Yeah,
that's right. I mean. A lot of real estate guys are deal guys, right? Like we're kind of deal junkies. We want to do deals, and that's kind of the way I look at myself. I'm like, I'm a hunter. I want to be hunting, and if I'm just sitting around the campfire waiting for food to be delivered, I'm not happy. Yeah. And that's what I know about myself, and so that's what I want to do is I want to go hunt again, and again, it doesn't have to be the $50 million elephant that I'm going after. It can be the zebras that are $2 million and opportunistic play and so that's where I want to spend a lot of my time over the next couple of years because they're out there, And but again, it goes down to mindset, and that's why I feel like it's so important of really having that healthy mindset where you're focused on an opportunity. You have an abundance mindset, and not scarcity. And it's so easy to get caught in that scarcity mentality. I'm guilty of it too, and I have to break myself out of it all the time.
Yeah, it's crazy how. I mean, I guess I can't speak for women, but like for men, like, especially high achievers, it's like you go through those ups and downs. And I feel like I was the guy that went to the gym 2 times a day.
Yep.
This was 10, 11 years ago. Like I just loved it. I needed it.
Yep.
And then I got married again, and we had some kids, and I just kind of started chilling out, putting on some weight. And, I really, especially recently, because I'm getting back after it, but I'm realizing how much of an effect that it had on me.
Yeah.
And it's like you need that, and you need to men need to hunt.
Yep.
I mean, at least real men. So
totally agree.
You got to hunt, and that's such an important thing. And it's like, you've clearly been very successful in your life, but yet you're still down to hunt, and that's the kind of guy I want to be around.
Yeah. It's funny. It's earlier this year, I kind of had, in my prayer time, my journal time, I was thinking, it kind of kept hearing over and over again, like, you need to get back to where you started. You need to get back to being scrappy. And what I didn't mention is, when I was doing the first consulting job and I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it kind of spurred this fire upon me to where I was going to Barnes & Noble every night and picking up new books to read and staying up till 3 a.m. reading books and then getting up at 5 to go work out and all this stuff. And just having that hunger, having that fire lit. And to your point about being bored, I have been bored. I've been comfortable, right? You get comfortable and that scrappy, mentality kind of goes away. And I was hearing over and over again, like, let's get scrappy again. Let's light that fire again and go do some stuff. And so, it's been nice to be comfortable and to go travel wherever you want and hit the gym twice a day or whatever it is. At some point though, we got to hunt, right? And so that's like, people talk about retiring. Like, I don't ever want to retire.
Yeah,
same.
Like, I want to keep hunting until the day I die, So, and that's what's great about real estate is you can.
Yeah.
Some of those guys, some of those old timers that are 80 years old still at their desk doing deals and don't have a computer or whatever else. Like, that's what I want to be like.
Yeah.
So,
It's funny. I recently met a group of high net worth individuals. All, I think the lowest age is 58 at a country club in Tucson, and they call it the tent. They all go meet at the tent, and these guys are all have done very, very well for themselves. But they love the deals. They're deal guys. They're just sitting there all day doing deals, getting in new deals, and I started working with some of them, and we got some pretty cool things going on. But it's also, I've done pretty good in my life. I've done pretty good.
Yep.
But I always knew there was so many more levels. But I think I got comfortable with whatever level I was at. And these guys, I think the average net worth is 250 million. Like these guys are
big boys.
Yeah, they're doing very well.
Yeah.
And just being around them more, proximity, hearing how these guys talk, I'm just like, gosh, damn, dude, I'm playing so small. Like so small. And to where these guys, and it's nothing, but like even a $20,000 check is just like, here, we're just talking about stuff, sponsorships for this stuff and doing things. Let me get that for you. Let me wire you $20,000. Like, I'm like, all right, I like this. And, we're talking about, with one of them, I got a call later today with him, but a fund and putting together $1 million, not that much, but and these guys, no problem. Yeah, just give me a call. We'll throw it together for you. And I'm just like, damn, dude, I wish I would have figured this world out like you did when in your 20s or whatever. But it's so crazy when you get around these people and it just, your mind just, it's like, yeah, the sky's the limit here.
100%. And kind of to what you're alluding to there is, I too feel like I'm just scratching the surface. I mean, I've had some success and people are like, oh, you've done this and you've done that. And you're not, I just feel like I'm starting. I really do. I feel like there's so much potential out there. And what's great is we're not limited by age. We're not limited. I know guys that are, 20 years old that have made a ton of money wholesaling or different things. And like, they could retire if they want to. We're not limited by that. And I feel like I'm just now scratching the surface of what I'm capable of. I'm 46 years old and, I feel like I'm just getting going. I really do. And so, it's putting yourself in proximity with the right people and having the right mindset,
Yeah.
Who are you learning from right now? Like, who's your mentors? What books are you reading? Stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. There's a couple guys that are somewhat entrepreneurial that are just hustlers, and they're not even in my industry. That I just respect their hustle and what they've been able to build outside of real estate that has really motivated me. I will say this is that I have been a Tony Robbins Platinum member, and I did that. I think the ticket to get into that club, if you will, it's well over $100,000 a year. And the reason why I did it is to put myself in proximity with those type of people.
Oh yeah.
And when you have to write a check for that amount, it screens out a lot of the riffraff, if you will. Totally. It's people that are serious.
I talk about this all the time.
Yep. Yeah. And So anyways, I put myself around those type of people, and not because they're better or worse. That's the kind of people that I know if I'm going to level up, that's who I have to be around. That's what I have to learn from. And like I said, many of those guys are not even in real estate, but it's just their mindset. Yeah. It's their hustle that have really motivated and inspired me.
Well, that's the thing is like the mindset, you could plug and play a positive mindset. It doesn't matter if real estate or any other business, right?
Yep.
And it's like talking about roofing or whatever,
yep.
and their home services, literally taking the marketing aspects that we've learned in real estate, plug that into roofing.
Yep.
And it works.
100%.
I mean? I have a friend kind of got started on a plumbing company, plugged the exact same mindset and marketing and stuff into that. It works.
Yep.
So that's what, and so we always talk about the power of proximity, and it's kind of like, it's cool to talk about it on Instagram.
Yep.
But when you start actually paying to be in those rooms,
yep.
whether it's 10 grand, 50, $100,000, doesn't matter. It forces you to instantly be in a level up.
Yep.
Because it will. Even a $10,000 entry fee to get into a room
yep.
is that's gonna deflect 90% of people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Then you start jumping in. Last year I joined a mastermind. 2 years ago I joined the mastermind. Similar, it's not Tony Robbins, but another high paying one. Same thing. Instantly, we would go quarterly. We would meet quarterly, and every single time you meet, it's like you would make your money. Like you would meet somebody, do a deal with them, partner with it, whatever it is, or even the knowledge you gain from that
yep.
person or persons at that event.
Yep.
You would literally make all your money back for the mastermind and then some. You know what I mean?
I'm glad you said that. I mean, people ask, how to start and, what to invest in and everything else. I say, invest in yourself.
In yourself.
Because it pays for itself 10 times over. And I've seen it with the Tony Robbins situation, even though it's a big ticket, one deal in our industry pays 10 times over. It'll pay for 10 years of that, right? And so I totally agree. I think, the most important piece is to invest in yourself. Yeah. If I was starting out today, I would be, reading as many books as I can, joining masterminds, all of those things, even coaching if you need it. You are your biggest asset.
Yeah.
That will pay the most dividends over any real estate investment out there. There's some good investments,
yeah.
but yourself and your mindset, your skill set, everything else will pay in spades.
Yeah, and that's why I always ask people, I'm like, who are you learning from right now? What is it that, like, what rooms are you paying to be a part of? Because that's going to tell me, like, maybe someone that I need to know right now. You know what I mean? And vice versa, because in order to get from level 1 to 2, you need those right people or that right mindset. But I can't go from 1 to 50
right
without going 2, 3, 4. So it's like, who are those next people that I should know, or the Rio should know, or anybody else, because it's like, who are you learning from? What books are you reading? What YouTube channels are you watching?
Yeah.
Because like right now, I'm really big into learning better communication and sales. Mm-hmm. Those are my 2 biggest things right now, because in everything that we're involved in, I've been doing this thing every single day. Any single problem that pops up, no matter how big or small it is, I literally write down in a notebook what that problem is.
Yep.
And then at the end of literally every Monday morning, we have team meetings Monday morning, I'll go through what those problems are, and I put a solution and a person to every problem.
Yep.
But then it's like, then you start looking at it, most of the problems are communication related.
Yep.
So now I'm like, okay, what is it? Is it me? Is it my team? Who is it? And what is it? Why is communication such a bad thing? Or like, why is it such a problem?
Yep.
So right now I'm like heavy into like watching YouTube and different stuff on communication, which translates to sales, because sales is communication, marketing is communication. Those 3 things are kind of my thing right now that I'm like deep diving into. But then once I clear that level, what's my next thing that what's my next thing that I'm gonna have to tackle? Right.
Yep.
So, and that goes along with like the mindset you were talking about, like in 2008 when you had the depression, like stress, whatever it came along with all those feelings. It's literally just a mindset thing. Like it took you whatever amount of time to pick you up off the couch, because you had to work on your mindset for days, weeks, months, years, whatever it was, until you got to okay, my mindset's strong enough to go back out in the world again. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and my we'll call it depression. I don't call it depression. It was
It's
depression.
like moments. It's like moments of depression, you know,
It is.
and it's inevitable to go through it. Like when you lose somebody's money or you go through betrayal, breakup, whatever it is,
Right.
it doesn't mean you're like a depression. You need to go get medication or you're whatever,
Exactly.
clinically depressed or
Yep.
what. But there's moments it's like, shit, dude, like
Yeah,
this
I'm
sucks.
feeling down. This sucks.
Yeah.
But that's my point, though, is like,
Yeah.
you just have to kind of pull yourself out of it, right?
Yeah.
You have to pull yourself out of it. And, you know, I know Andrew Tate, you know, whether I don't know if you follow his stuff
yeah.
or something, but he's one guy I watch his videos because I think he has the right mindset. And he's
Totally.
like, depression isn't real. And while that might be controversial in some circles, I totally agree with it in the sense that you choose your thoughts, you choose your mindset, and it's not to say that if there's chemical imbalances or things like that you know they shouldn't be treated. That's a different subject. But so many of
Stop
us just
eating
feel
sugar.
sorry for ourselves, right? And just it's like pull it together, man.
Yeah.
Like let's get after it, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to tell myself. There wasn't social media, there wasn't YouTube at that time. There might have been. I don't know if it was really going, but I feed myself that stuff. It's funny. I don't watch TV anymore. I watch YouTube.
Yeah.
And I watch guys like Patrick Bet-David, who's
Yeah.
roughly the same age as I am, who is a masterful communicator, built
Yeah.
from nothing. You know, guys like
Amazing.
that's what inspires.
Totally.
Me, you know, so
Same.
Well, that's like the saying, I can't remember, don't be the bitch of your own mind.
exactly.
And it's literally just a mental thing. You know what I mean? Like you
100%.
literally have to tell yourself, like, get off your couch, go do this thing. Get off your couch, go do. And until then, you're just like in a state of depression or whatever it is. But so yeah, Patrick Bet-David, man, he's talking about a reverse market crash.
Yep.
Yeah, and we've been talking about this for a while, but that's something that I've really been talking about and feeling. You know, switching back to the real estate, is it a reverse market crash?
Yeah.
You know, what would you do? Let's say forecasting. What are you preparing for in that?
You know, it's interesting. Here's what I do know is that we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen with the Fed. We don't know what's going to happen with interest rates. We don't know what's going to happen with home values.
Yeah.
You know, you talk to a realtor and they're like, oh, you know, it's this.
Date the rate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, date the rate. I heard so much of that, right?
Yeah.
I don't have a crystal ball,
Yeah.
you know, but there, like I said, I know that there's real opportunities today that have nothing to do with crashes or
Yeah.
you know, booms or anything else that are real investments today that you can make. And those are the ones I'm focused on. It's not dependent on, you know, a 30% correction in the market or, you know, certain cities booming or whatever. This is real returns today in this market.
The
right
numbers
now.
today. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's smart. Yeah. And because that's what we talk about too. It's just accumulation if it's working today.
Yep.
Like who cares hypothetically 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, as long as it's working today, because we already know the markets today, the pressure in the market today, the numbers today. But in the chance of a reverse market crash, you know, call it a market melt up for any stock traders, that's only going to benefit that real estate,
Oh yeah,
like massively.
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But if the adverse happens, we get a crash that everybody's like, I shouldn't say everybody, people are waiting for and thinking is going to happen.
Right.
And, you know, and that's well, I can't wait for the crash. And it's like, how many people were prepared for COVID when COVID crashed?
Exactly.
No one.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And all these people for years before that were like, oh, the market's going to crash. I'm going to jump in. The market's going to crash. I can't wait. I'm prepared.
Yep.
Dude, I remember when it happened, March 2020, when we had the official shutdowns,
Yep.
right? It was like everyone was panicking. For like 2 weeks, people were panicking.
Yeah.
Dude, I had contracts on properties. We just canceled everything
Yep.
because we thought fire sold properties.
Yep.
Like we were just like, dude, unload, like this is the end of the world. Like unload everything, you know? And then a few weeks go by, rates, and it's like, dude, you could throw a dart and make money.
Exactly.
You know? And so nobody was ready for that crash. And I feel like a lot of the people that are calling for crash now and like, can't wait, they're still like, people still aren't ready. You know what I mean? Like there's mentally, maybe you have the idea of when the things crash, then I'll go buy. But it's like, what are you doing to prepare to go buy?
Yep.
Are you raising capital? Or is your credit lined up to where you can qualify for a loan? Is your job paying? Is your job secure to where you can still have it?
100%.
Stuff like that. Yep. So that's one thing him and I, Rio and I align a lot on is we need to prepare for both scenarios,
Yep.
which is accumulate properties that work today's market,
Yep.
right? If we get a reverse market crash, dude, we'll be sitting on a lot, right?
Yep.
If the market does crash, our system is still working because it works today.
That's exactly. Yep.
Cool.
Yep. But no, I think it's important, like this is kind of an accumulation period, like where you can accumulate some capital, you can accumulate knowledge, you can accumulate contacts, like like-minded people, right?
Yeah.
Like this is the time to be accumulating that stuff.
Yeah.
And depending on what happens to the market, whatever, right? But there's also real opportunities today.
Yeah.
That whether reverse market crash or market, it doesn't matter. Like it's still
Yeah.
going to work.
Yeah.
What in your business right now, or even in your personal life, what's your, like some holes that you could feel that could be filled? Like what is it that you need help with right now?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think I've done a lot of self-reflection over this last year, and I think I've really got to know myself really well. And I've found that again, I just got comfortable.
Yeah.
I got comfortable, and it's really easy to do when you get to a certain point, but it's not who I am. It's not what I want. It's not what gets me up in the morning. And so as a result, I'm taking those measures to get back to who I am, who I was. I'm getting up at 5 a.m. I'm doing cardio, even though I don't want to do it. All those things that it's the grind. I need that. And so I don't know if I'm really answering your question, but what I've found is that I'm missing that piece of my life that, again, I keep going back to it, but I need to hunt. Sharks, they need to keep moving, or they need to keep swimming. And that's how I view myself. And so I just know, and I've gotten to know myself, that I cannot just get comfortable. I never want to feel comfortable again. Grant Cardone talks a little bit about it. He's like, you should always feel broke. I don't know what he has a way that he goes about saying it, but there's something to it. It's like you should feel like you haven't done anything at all times and keep going.
I think naturally as an entrepreneur, you feel like that anyways, dude.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like, dude, we'll work 14, 16, 18 hour days. And it's like, you feel like you didn't do shit all day. It's like, dude, what did I?
Yeah.
Like, I'm so unaccomplished.
Well, yeah, but even accomplishment wise, like, you've done some big things. I've done some things. You've done some things. And you're just kind of like, I haven't done nothing yet.
Yeah.
Like, still so
I know
much
that your
more
wife
to
is
give.
like, dude, I'm so proud of you. I'm like, dude, I haven't done shit.
Right.
Well, and to that point, like I kind of filled, because of some of the market stuff and everything else, and not being necessarily as active as we wanted, I would prefer. I filled it with other things. So I over the last 5 years, I've competed in fitness competitions, and was able to turn pro at doing that. And so I filled it in other ways, pursuing things, but at the same time, like I know, like this is really what gets me up. This was really what gets me excited. And so I have found, again, this year that I need to start cutting things from my life. Like I don't need to, it's more of a pruning season than anything else, if you will.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's important to have that distinction of when it's time to cut some people up, or things, or whatever it
right?
is. Yeah.
Do a self-audit. That's what I was called. Like, you have to do a self-audit often, man.
Yep.
And it's funny, even there's certain things, like I get people, they'll send me like reels and stuff, and you kind of go down this rabbit hole. Like you'll like send reels to people or whatever, I have certain people, like as soon as they send me something, I don't even look at it. Like, it's like,
Hopefully I'm not one.
we share a lot of the same stuff, but like there's certain people that I've even had to do like audits on, like we're going to be friends, but I know when they send me a reel, it's going to be irrelevant to anything I want to watch.
Yep.
And it sounds like maybe stupid or cocky, but it's like, I'm not going to spend 15 to 30 seconds of my life watching the garbage you send me. Because one, it's not funny.
Yep.
Two, it doesn't serve me.
Yep.
And three, it's just like maybe something personal, that like personal context to them that maybe they will find funny.
Right.
But it's so annoying because I have to like click it just so it doesn't have the notification. So it's like I click it and
They keep sending it.
Well,
He
you're
loves this
You're
stuff.
nicer than me, dude, because I don't even care.
30 seconds of my life I'm never getting
But
back.
no, I don't even click. No, I don't click the reel, but I have to click like the actual message.
Yeah.
Right.
Go to the DMs, click the message. That way the notification's not even there, because I hate like when notifications are on my phone, And so it's like, so even like little stuff like DMs and like I couldn't tell you what the person sent me, but it's like I know it's gonna, like I don't even pay attention to that person. So you have to do like a self audit, but so you have to cut people out. It's not even just people; it's things like the reels or the amount of time you spend on your phone.
Exactly.
And man, I'm bad on like let's see, dude, like 11 hours and 28 minutes on my phone yesterday. You know what I mean? Like
Impressive.
that's a lot.
Yet I can't get you to return a text.
You're caught.
I'm always on the phone. It's always moving. And like a lot of times I'll see something. I'm like, okay, cool. And then you know what I mean? And that's him and I. Like he likes validation. Did you see my text message? Yes.
Yep.
To me, I see it and I'm like, cool, I'm on it. But I don't even say anything. And then he'll tell me, dude, did you see this thing? I'm like, dude, I've already got it done, dude. But it's like the communication thing we've had to learn together.
Yep.
Cool. That's it. Self-audit's big.
Yeah.
But what do you have for closing for us? What do you see for us that maybe we can, I know you don't know us that well in terms of our business operation, but any tips you can give us?
Yeah. I mean, I think I kind of go back to it. I think mindset is key.
Yeah.
You know, so, and it's a daily thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like hitting the gym or anything else. You gotta train your mind.
Are you a cold plunge guy?
I am now.
Dude, I talk shit on that for so long. And
I did too.
I'm like, because I see all these guys jumping in there and it's like, you can't cold plunge without, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right?
And it's like
3 minutes. I did
3 minutes. And it's like,
Didn't happen if you don't record it. Well.
well, it's funny you say that. I was just in Bali for a couple of weeks, and every night I would do like this recovery. There's some awesome gyms that have all that stuff over there, and I would do cold plunge, and I felt so alive just while I was there.
Yeah.
And as a result, since I've been back, I do it religiously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Almost every day.
yeah.
So yeah, I think
You have a cold plunge?
no, but my gym has it.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Dude, it is, man. Like I just go to my pool right now. I don't have a cold plunge, but my pool's like cold. I don't care if the water's 34 degrees. It's too cold for me, man. But you know what I mean? Like I have to sit there and like channel my inner bitch and just like jump in. But it's there's definitely something to it.
Yep.
But
Yep.
you're not gonna see me posting online. But
One thing, I mean, it's real estate based, it's life, it's faith, it's whatever. But one thing that I do as a kind of a best practice is I journal, and I keep my journals. And the reason why I do it is because one, it allows me to get my thoughts. I'm always like you guys. I'm always thinking, right? And it's so easy just to not put those on paper and to really realize it. But what's most important is to go back 5 years, 10 years, and see what you were thinking, you know, and how you've evolved since then, and how you've grown. And so, I think as a best practice, I tell everybody, journaling is one of the keys to my success.
do you keep all your old journals?
I do.
So I don't journal. I've thought about starting real heavily to get one for trying this out, but then two, I think it'd be cool to give to my kids 40 years from now, 50 years when I die.
They might not want
whatever,
to see what you were thinking about, Dad.
Right, dude. But think about
But no, I get it.
So like I've got 3 kids, and when they were, each one of them were born, I created an email address for each of them. And so I write them all the time. I send them pictures all the time.
I love that.
And one day I'll give them, hey, here's your email.
Yep.
And it's going to literally be their whole first 25 years or whatever it is of me writing them letters, sending them pictures. So then it's taken a step further. If you have like a journal, give them, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of my personal stuff. It's
I
not
love
me
that.
just, yeah.
You're actually doing that.
Oh yeah. So my oldest is 5, then I've got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And in the hospital, when we had my 5-year-old, now 5-year-old, when we had him, I was like, dude, I'm going to do this thing. So I literally created an email address in the hospital, started writing him, and I write him all the time. I send him pictures, like even of him. Hey, dude, this is your first steps. Hey, this is your first day on a bicycle.
Oh man,
That's cool.
So now he's got pictures, videos.
I like that.
Letters. And then I did it with my second and then my third. And so it's the same thing. And then sometimes I'll tag all 3, like, hey, here's a picture of all 3 of you. Here's a video. You know what I mean?
that's so cool. I had the same vision when my kids were young. They're now 26 and 23. I want to do the same thing, and life just got busy, and I never did it.
Yeah.
The fact that you're doing it is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I love that.
Dude, we have no, and no fault to my parents. We didn't have iPhones growing up.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, we have no like baby pictures. Like, I don't know what my parents look like. I don't know what they were doing, but I even write them and just be like, hey man, right now we're in this season of life. Like we're living in this house in Chandler. We're living, doing this. This is what I do for work. This is, this is what we're going through. Just,
I love it.
One day they're going to wake, like, I'm like, hey, you're 25, you respond. Well, I don't know the age, but here's your email.
I love that.
Yeah,
So-
That's a legacy.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool.
100%. That's powerful. I didn't even know that, but
I thought it'd be cool to start journaling though, to add to that.
100%.
Almost more like, hey, here's my personal level of just me,
Yep.
not me just writing a letter to you or whatever.
Yep.
So I think that'd be cool too. So I've always just little tips and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I had a question, something you said. I don't know. I'll let you finish.
Well,
that.
and you know, I mean, that's obviously not real estate based journaling, but I think as it relates to real estate and kind of closing, I think, you know, I've mentioned it a couple times, but what I love about this industry is it's given me the freedom. It's given me the freedom to basically do whatever I want. And there's not many, everybody wants that, but there's not many ways that you can actually achieve that. And I love that real estate actually provides that. It's completely changed my life. Robert Kiyosaki obviously wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, has become a friend. I run into him all the time, and I tell him every time I see him, man, you changed my life. And it's allowed me to have that freedom to be able to pursue my passions, to be able to go visit my kids whenever I want, or, you know, do whatever I want. And again, I think we're only limited by our work ethic, our mindset, and just our creativity.
Yeah.
Anybody can do what I've done and much, much more. And there's hundreds of thousands of examples of that.
Yeah.
And it's not a get rich quick thing. It's not a, you know, Amazon store or whatever else, which is fine. This is a proven way to create real wealth and real freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, that was actually really good, man. I'm glad, kind of last second I invited you over. I'm glad you could make it. And this was a great interview, and thank you for coming, and looking forward to building, you know, more of a relationship with you over time. And how can people find you? Where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, I think Instagram, Jeff.Sakamoto. It's mostly my fitness and modeling stuff, but I'm going to be evolving that. And it's one of the things for this next year is to make it much more business, use my platform to really help people to achieve the same things, you know, whether it's mindset or real estate and business. That's kind of the direction I'm shifting my life. And this is actually a perfect time because that's the direction I'm going. So that's the best way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Well, there it is, man. Episode 1 is a wrap, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.